And yeah, so welcome Art Docents 2020-2021, a new world of virtual volunteering. That's my snazzy title. Okay, let's see if I can advance the slides. Oh, okay, so the agenda of this meeting will be a quick introduction of who we are and who I am. Then we'll kind of go into what is the Art Docent program, how did it work before, how is it going to change this year. Then we will talk about what could be a virtual art lesson, what does it look like. And then finally we'll end with some Q&A and maybe some group planning for the year. So real quickly, I'm Allie Bauer. If you haven't already met me, I'm the mom to Oliver, who's a 5th grader in Mr. Wong's class, and to Charlie, who's a 3rd grader in Miss Kat's class. I started volunteering as an art docent when Oliver was in kindergarten, and then I took over coordinating the program about a year later because the coordinator her daughter was graduating out of Paden. I've never had to coordinate a virtual program before, so this is new for me. I'm just like the teachers are getting a new dose of online this year. So I'm hoping that we could all kind of come together and brainstorm this. So what is the Art Docent program? So if you aren't already a docent, let me just kind of give you some background. Art Docent volunteering is basically bringing prepared art lessons to your child's classroom. We usually do it once a month, and volunteers can team up together to plan, prep, and give the lessons. They used to come into the art closet and bring everything onto a cart. They would bring those materials physically in the classroom, and they would physically spend an hour in that classroom giving the lesson to the kids. When the lesson was over, they usually would collect the art from the drying rack or from wherever it was stored, and they would either paste it up on the walls outside the classroom, or we would sometimes give it to a program called Art Across the Island, where the art would be displayed like in local libraries and stores, places like that. It's kind of cool to see our art everywhere. So how is Art Docent volunteering changing for 2020-2021? Well, Art Docent volunteering is going to be switching to virtual this year, just like so many other things. Lessons will not be live Zoomed though. Parent volunteers can still make Zoom guest appearances. Maybe they can go into a live Zoom to like introduce themselves or present what the lesson will be and where to find the resources. Or maybe they can be a guest in the Zoom class after the lesson has been watched by the students and the students can share. We just felt like this was easier after talking to other art professionals who have been switching to online. They found that teaching the lessons online was really tricky for the kids to follow along, especially with all the audio issues and visual issues. And so we just figured pre-recording things or giving them the lesson in some other way virtually was better. Volunteers can still team up with their other docents to plan and prep and to provide the digital lessons to the classrooms. Teachers are asking for the document, for like a document or a slideshow or a video that they can post on their Google Classroom page. General art materials are supposed to get sent home sometime soon after they get ordered and arrive. Then they'll kind of have like the basic kit for doing art. They'll have some paint, some paper, some oil pastels, watercolors, different things they could do the art lessons on. But any additional specific materials you might need, you just need to let me know, and we can find a way to get those out to students with the monthly distribution. They're going to be doing other materials being sent out once a month, and we can just tack those things for your lesson onto that. So what does a virtual art lesson look like? Well, we think it could look at like anything we want it to look like because we're kind of in charge of this year. We're making this up. So here are some ideas that we already kind of have. So after searching for an age-appropriate lesson that's simple and maybe has more flexible materials just in case kids can't find their paint or can't find their crayons, it could maybe be flexible. Create a document or a slideshow or a video that shows the steps, the techniques, maybe some examples, pictures of the examples. To the side of this slide, you can see that here's an example of like what a Google document might look like. It has the needs on the top of like what you need for the project, a link to a video that I just found online of how to do this project. It has cute music and somebody else already made it look good. Then the steps, I think I copied and pasted these steps from something I saw on a website. Or you could hand type those. This is just a picture that I grabbed off the internet that already had all the steps shown with the example shown, but you could take your own pictures and place that onto your document as well. This is just the most easiest way you could do this. This is just a document. Now you can make a slideshow like what I'm presenting right now. Maybe it only takes 4 slides. One slide's your intro, one slide is a picture, the next slide's a picture, the third slide's a picture, then so on. Or you can make your own video. You can record a Zoom video like I'm doing right now. That's just an option. You can record yourself on your phone. One thing I do with my kids, especially last year when we had makerspace projects, because I also do makerspace, is I would record my kids doing their makerspace project, and then I would post that. And so in a way, the kids are the star, and they're kind of showing off how to do something to the rest of their class, which is kind of nice. Well, where do lessons come from? Lesson resources can be shared with you. I have different websites that we've used for years for this program, but most volunteers typically go on Pinterest or go on their own Google hunt, Google search. You also have other docents that have been doing this for a long time that used to be first grade parents or second grade parents. Sometimes we can recycle a lesson that we did before, or we can help you find a lesson. Or you and your team of brand new docents can team up with the teacher and get a lesson figured out that the teacher's done before, or you could just search things out together and come up with ideas, maybe share it with the teacher and say, hey, we found this, I think it's pretty cute. Does this seem like it would work? Then they can give you their feedback if it's age appropriate, if it has too many steps, if it's easy or complex, those kinds of things that teachers just know from being teachers. How do I make a virtual lesson? Well, I'm kind of making one right now and I'm learning as I go. You can copy and paste the things you find, the pictures, video examples, and just stick them all into a document or a slideshow. Or you can create an original document or slideshow, type everything up from scratch, take the pictures of what you're making at home with your child from scratch, and put it all, upload those to your computer and then stick them into the document or slideshow yourself. You can record a Zoom lesson, like what I'm doing right now. I'm recording this Zoom presentation, but think about it. You can make a meeting with some of your other docents. You guys could all take turns talking or sharing the lesson and just be re-recording it. Keep recording it till you get the one you like, and then you can just give that to the teacher. Or you could record your child and you giving the lesson together, which might be kind of nice. So a lesson should have at least some basic things in it, some sort of introduction. Sometimes I used to read like a storybook that kind of paired with the lesson well, or sometimes I would just show a piece of art and to say, hey kids, what do you see in this picture? Do you see thick lines, thin lines? Just kind of ask a few questions. And before they used to be able to interact with me, but now you can just maybe pose it out into the virtual world, and then that'll kind of get kids to stop and reflect and observe. Or you can talk briefly about an artist or an artist's art style, what kind of art project this is. This is, watercolor. Watercolors are. You can give steps and examples in every lesson. I think that that's the most crucial part, is having some visual examples as well as some step-by-step examples of the process. What I've learned from the past experience is sometimes I had not enough steps, which made it too simple. And then the students were over there, doing something very unusual because I had missed a step that they really needed to keep them on course. So maybe practice with your child, since they're the age group that you're teaching to, and maybe with the steps, you can kind of figure out if those steps were enough steps or if there's too many, and you can kind of figure that out together. And finally, every lesson should have some sort of sharing element. Because this is virtual reality now, there's different ways that teachers are choosing to share. And perhaps it's just them making a gallery on their Google Classroom, or maybe we can make a gallery on Parent Square, or maybe you can come into the class with a live Zoom and the kids can hold up their art and have like a little bit of a sharing time. So those are possible options, and we got to figure that out as we go. Lesson sharing option. So this is about maybe you want to pair up with another docent team from a different classroom. So can docents in other classes share their lessons with my class? Well, often docents in the same grade levels have shared resources in the past. I might make it easier to share things this year, just because we're all kind of going crazy in our lives, our personal lives, trying to like teach the kids, you know, to get into their lessons and still trying to work from home and all these other things. And maybe it would be great if maybe, let's say all the fourth grade docents took turns making a lesson for the whole grade, you know, so like, you know, maybe December, it's my turn to kind of develop one and share it with the whole fourth grade. And then another fourth grade, you know, docent can share their lesson the next month. Just an idea. You probably can, you know, you still can make your own individual lessons for your class if you want to, but make them shareable for others to use, or you can maybe use one of the lessons that someone else shared later. Let's discuss this later and maybe come up with a plan or a calendar way we can organize these sharing of resources. And finally, I have a few resources here for you that you can click on later. One is the ArtSonia database. That's just a database we've been using for years to find lessons that go for different grades. And this is basically a document that gives you the links and the sign-in, login info to get into ArtSonia, and a brief instruction on how to use ArtSonia. Next is art lessons by month and grade. These are PDFs that were created by some really great parent volunteers at LUM several years ago. And we've used these lessons at Paden for the last several years. So these are already in a PDF format. Some of them might be a little bit too complex for this virtual year, but I'm sure we can find some good ones in there. So I'm kind of sharing that with you. And then I put a little lesson doc template that you can use to make your own lesson. You just, you know, switch out the things I have with the things you want to use, but that's a document, not a slideshow. And then finally, I put a link to the PTA Reflections Art Project. It's kind of like an art competition that happens nationally every year. Paden has participated in this for many years. Even if we didn't compete in the competition, we still did the project as like a school, and we would like display that all over the school. And Reflections is a really great program. And this year, the theme is I Matter Because. And I think that's pretty cool. And you can watch the video of the PTA, National PTA President talking about that project. So finally, I would be opening this up to Q&A and a group planning discussion where we can talk about the things that I kind of breezed over really quickly. And we can kind of come up with our plan together as a team. I mean, we can make this up, you know, no pressure here of me telling you guys what to do. I'd rather us to kind of develop it together and try to do what's easiest for us right now as parent volunteers. This might even be the easiest art docent volunteer year of all time, because you're not washing paintbrushes in a sink for, you know, 30 minutes. You know, you're not setting up the tables and bringing the carts together. You kind of just can do everything through email to your other docents, and then find ways to share it with the teacher just by giving them the link. So I think that's pretty cool. So if you have any questions, you can always email them to me. And that's the end of this presentation. Bye.